Hey, it's nice to have you back here in this new video. Today, we're gonna talk about this camera, the RICOH THETA Z1. You know, it has been quite a long time since the previous talk about this dual 1-inch 360 camera with variable apertures. And the RICOH has released the THETA Z1 to the market for over 3 years. But during the past 3 years, this camera has been getting better and better with constant firmware upgrade. I mean, these RICOH engineers finally listen to the customers and they try to make this camera as competitive as possible. And by far, this RICOH THETA Z1 is still the king of 360 point and shoot photography. So coming next in this video, we're going to talk about some of its latest and perhaps the greatest features so far. And that is a feature that we've been dreaming about. That is the auto exposure bracket shooting, which means that this camera could shot the exposure bracket automatically for us. As we know, the Hirota has invented the dual fisheye RAW plugin that could capture all this shot with burst capture rate and stack and merge directly in the camera. And Hirota even developed a remote control app for the Android users, but for the iOS platform, things got a little bit tricky. It's almost impossible for us to finally develop and publish an iOS remote control app for the dual fisheye RAW plugin. And besides the dual fisheye RAW plugin doesn't have a live preview before you press the shutter button. With that has been said, the RICOH has finally integrated some of the dual fisheye RAW features into the official app with the latest firmware and latest RICOH THETA app. And the RICOH THETA app has also been redesigned from ground up that delivers a much better user experience. So coming next, we'll first cover some of the latest experience on the RICOH THETA app. And second, we're going to deep dive into the auto exposure bracket. I'm going to try to explore the real potential of this shooting mode, and maybe we can share with you bonus tips and tricks. So after you have updated the latest firmware about this camera and update the latest app, now open this camera, open the Wi-Fi, you can directly enter this THETA Z1 if you have previously connected with the camera. But if you don't have previous connect with the camera, you can add the camera, another models, and enter the serial number of this camera. And hit on register. This app will automatically detect this access point and connect to device automatically. Actually, the 8 numbers of this serial number will be the Wi-Fi password. The previous photos have been captured with camera, and its camera images, now it should be empty. And hit on this button. Now we are going to enter this live preview mode. And take a look. In the latest hint, the app gonna give you the latest hint about the latest features. Now you can select auto exposure bracket for the shooting method. It is necessary to update the camera firmware to the latest 2.10.3 or even later. So here is the live preview. This is my messed up desktop, and this is actually my screen. I'm recording this video for you guys. This is myself, and look at this. This is matrix. This is matrix clock. Do you see that? That matrix clock. And yeah, we're gonna have new shooting mode. Take a look. In the settings, we now have new options in the shooting method. Now we have this auto exposure bracket. So this is definitely a brand new shooting mode. And in the auto bracket shooting mode, we can set the EV step from 0 all the way up to 3. It's very powerful, these settings. Obviously, if we set the step into 0, it's going to be burst capture. So this is another tips for the auto exposure bracket, because auto exposure bracket can be a brand new burst capture with burst API. This is another tips and tricks. Normally speaking, we can set step to 1.0, and for the number of shots, up to 9 different shots. So the maximum dynamic range you could capture, 9 shots with 3.0 step, we can literally capture 24 EV steps. This is pretty insane. But normally I will use the 1.0 and 9 shot in bracket. And this is the shooting order. You can capture the base image, the EV0 and minus and plus. So it looks like a conventional DSLR mirrorless camera. That these cameras also have these options. The Sony, the Nikon, and the Canon all have these options. Or from the lowest, fastest exposure, all the way up to 0 and to plus exposure. And we can also adjust with different ISO. Normally speaking, I suggest you always shot with the same ISO settings with the same noise level, because you're gonna mess up your image quality. If you have the variable ISO and stack and merge, your final image will be noisy sometimes. Adjust with ISO, hit off. And the self timer also have 2 seconds or to 10 seconds. And you can also register these settings to my settings. So next time you can directly enter into auto exporter bracket. For the file format, always shooting RAW. That is the reason why you purchased the Z1 with dual 1-inch sensor that deliver 12-bit color depth for a single lens. The same image size, the 6.7K by stitching RAW, you get 7.2K. And the camera shutter volume always set to high in case you just don't hear the shutter sound. That is the basic settings. And you can also use the multi-bracket shooting. The multi-bracket shooting is a conventional shooting method, and you can load up to 19 different shots and capture them one by one. It's not shooting burst capture API, but in the auto exporter bracket, you're gonna capture all this shot with burst capture API. So bear in mind, with auto exporter bracket, not only you can capture 9 different shots in different settings, but you can also capture 9 shots in burst with exactly the same settings once you have set the step to 0. So far so good. Go back. And with the auto exporter settings and the official RICOH THETA app, we finally have a live preview. This is something that is truly wonderful. That's better experience compared with the dual fisheye RAW plugin. Okay, this is what we can get. I can see this is my light setup, top-down light, and this main light. Okay, and with the option settings, because with auto exporter bracket, you don't have any options. Next one is just to hit the shutter button. And here's one more bonus tips. Even in the auto exporter bracket, you can still manipulate this EV settings for the base, the EV0. So you can change settings from the -5 all the way up to 5.0. So this is another excellent secret feature for the auto exporter bracket, because you can change the base, because you can change the base exporter value, not just about EV0, but you can level it up or put it down. Okay, so far so good. Now, I can also choose this. You can also preview. You can turn off the preview. You can preview in the equirectangular format, and you can preview in the interactive format. So this is exciting. This is super cool. I suggest you always set upper limit ISO to the 200 to give you the best possible image quality. And then hit the shutter button. But normally speaking, I think the speed is really fast. It's because with 9 different capture, with burst capture in raw DNG format, the overall the time, I think is quite limited. I think is reasonably fast. And it save all these files into the memory, so that you can see all of these 9 shots in RAW, not JPEG, in RAW. So, but you cannot preview RAW in the settings, because with Auto Explorer Brakcet, you don't have RAW plus JPEG, because with RAW plus JPEG, it will slow the camera down. Do you see that? It will slow the camera down. You don't have RAW plus JPEG. You have RAW or JPEG. And with other shooting method, for example, with normal shooting, you have RAW plus JPEG or JPEG. Because to fully utilize the speed of burst capture API, normally speaking, better capture every frame with exactly the same format. Because with JPEG, you're gonna start internal pipeline that will cost you time and resources. Let's try to manipulate these settings and try to see what we can get with the Auto Explorer Brakcet. So this is the brand new features for the CD1, and it delivers a better experience compared with the dual fisheye RAW plugin, because you have live preview, you have all these settings, but you cannot change the aperture. This is something that we want in the future. Before we jump into the post-process workflow, just want to share with you a little bit bonus screen capture on my iPhone, because for the RICOH THETA official app, the iOS version now has even better experience compared with Android. Now let's take a look. And you can literally connect with your camera with other settings, and you can even use the QR code to connect with your CD1. Take a look. So this is something that iOS is better with than the Android, because you can use this the QR code. Did you see that? It is a lot faster compared with Android. And hit on use the default password, hit on register. Did you see that? Now we have successfully connect with this camera. And you're gonna have a brand new live preview. But we really want to see that is a brand new interface. It's a better layout and this makes this UI more intuitive. And you also have the settings for the camera. It looks pretty identical with Android, but now with a dark theme for the iOS. And we can multi-select all these shots. And you can also wireless transfer RAW files to your phone. This is something that is pretty unique. But before that, we can only transfer the JPEG. Now we can transfer RAW, so to speak. We can use CETA transfer or the CETA stitcher to perform mobile platform. If you want to know more about the mobile workflow, you can definitely check out my ancient video about this CD1. Okay, hit on capture. It is a brand new live preview, and this is 360 live preview, and we also have the same method, just like this Auto Explorer Brakcet. The gallery tab, it looks like it's more responsive. It's a lot better, and that's it. Now let's jump to the post-process workflow. Okay, now I'd like to share with you some of my screen capture about some post-process workflow, some bonus tips on the C2Z1 Auto Explorer Brakcet. As you might have noticed, I have copied and pasted all these 9 RAW files onto my MacBook, and I try to use Adobe Camera Raw. I'm a fan of the latest Camera Raw 15.0. So to speak, multi-select all these files, open in Adobe Camera Raw. And in the Camera Raw, you can see these photographs with premium image quality. I mean, look at the ISO. ISO start with ISO 80. So all these files have been captured with ISO 80, which is the lowest ISO and the best image quality for the Z1. But for the aperture, you just cannot control the apertures. So all these files being captured with f2.1. I do hope in the future we can lower down. We can make the aperture as f3.5. Theoretically speaking, with f3.5 for Z1, we will get the best imaging quality. This is my messed up desktop. I got messed up all this desktop. And I think with all 9 shots in Brakcet, I have bring back all details from the highlight, from shadows. Since I have sit down here still, so I can select all these files. And merge to HDR. So when you merge to HDR in Adobe Camera Raw, you are actually merge all these files into 16-bit HDR float DNG file, which is literally the same as what we can get for the dual fisheye RAW plugin. As you do, fisheye RAW plugin also perform similar tasks, but all of these synthesizing we accomplish inside the camera. But for this official app, they don't have this HDR DNG capability. So we can. Okay, now we have merged files because we have shot this file, all these shots on the tripod. So we turn off align images, and we turn off apply all the settings. Because with all the settings, things got a lot beautiful. The ghosting, turn it off, or we can turn it to low. Maybe I am shaking a little bit, but never mind. It should be awesome. You can update, or you can turn it off. Turn to low. It's updating on the background. And you can also show overlay in the red color. Yes, take a look. Take a look at this file. Yes. Hit on merge. Hit on merge. And we can save these files to the HDR format. It's a 16-bit float HDR DNG. Click on save. And we are good to go. That's Adobe Camera will automatically add these files into our settings. So this is the HDR DNG files. Take a look. Almost with noise free, because I am sitting there. And take a look. This is my screen. And hit on auto. Did you see that I have brought back all the details from highlight to shadows? Looks pretty damn awesome. Lower down a little bit. Lower down. Yes, that's it. And hit turn on, turn down, add a little bit more texture. I don't want to be oversaturated. Okay. And that's it. And I do want to remove this chromatic aberrations. Watch out this shutter speed. I mean. This is before. This is after. You can definitely remove this chromatic aberrations, and it's great. And hit on fit in view. And yes, so far so good. And next one, we can save. We can save this file. Save the file in TIFF format. And TIFF format. I mean, it's very crowded, and I should spend more time to clean up my room. Okay. Now we get a TIFF image. Next one, let's open the RICOH THETA Stitcher. And we would love to drag and drop these files in the Stitcher 3.0, because stitch the image for us. It's high imaging quality, high build quality. Even though it's crowded, it's messed up, but the overall image quality looks pretty awesome. And we can add some menu settings, adjust the angles, and that's it. Do you see that? So this is definitely my YouTube studio, and sometimes I sleep on the bed, overnight. If I have made my videos too late in the night, I will sleep in the bed. Okay, and hit on OK. Now we got an equirectangular image directly from the camera. This is the final shot. And we can even fine-tuning this file to Adobe Camera Raw in a rectangular format, but never mind. Take a look. It's eye detection autofocus system for my camera. This is my room. And I can even fine-tune these files, and I can even add some color corrections to these files with some preset, to whatever you want. So this is how I have made the post-process workflow. And if you ever want to add further nadir patch or fine-tuning the details, you can choose touch retouch or affinity photos or panel to VR to further finalize your nadir path, to actually get rid of your tripod and get rid of the shadows of the photographers, of the tripod, the selfie stick, whatever you want. But here in this section, I just want to demonstrate how you can fully acquire the best possible imaging quality. I mean, take a look. If you take a look at these files, it's noise free. I mean, it's noise free. I didn't add any denoise in the Adobe Camera Raw. You can even add more noise reduction if you're not satisfied, but I am pretty satisfied with the result. This is how I have correct this Auto Explorer raw unify sequence in my post-process workflow. This is how I have achieved this imaging quality. But here to see, this is my brand new GearTree system. Yeah, brand new GearTree system. I really love this place. It's really like this. It's my digital metaverse in my real life. Okay, that is the basic recap and screen capture for my post-process workflow. That is all about my personal ideas and explanation about Auto Explorer Brakcet on the Theta D1. And I also share with you some bonus tips and tricks. Especially, you can use the Auto Explorer Brakcet as a conventional burst capture. And you can capture up to 9 different shots. So the Auto Explorer Brakcet fully utilizes the burst capture API in the latest Theta D1 firmware. And this definitely remarks another big milestone for this camera, because from every perspective, the Theta D1 looks more like a traditional 360 camera, a traditional DSLR camera. They have similar experience. I mean, with variable apertures, with Auto Explorer Brakcet, with HDR shooting, even with some plugins that use the Android operating system, and also with the In Camera HDR synthesizing 16-bit float HDR DNG with some genius developer like Yoshi Hirota. I mean, this camera is still quite unique, even in the year 2022. You know, in the year 2022, we have a lot of new players on the market, but the Z1 is still one of my favorite camera, especially for the series 360 photography and virtual tours. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to thumb up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Talk to you soon. See you next time. Bye.